Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Shintaro Higashi Show with Peter Yu. Today, we're going to talk about how to learn judo online. That's like the new landscape of things, right? This is what
Right.
we got to do. Learn stuff online.
Yeah, and with the whole situation with the pandemic right now, the online judo content is becoming more important for us.
Yep.
And as with anything online, we need to consume them in a very healthy way, I guess.
That's absolutely right. There's so
Yeah,
much stuff out there, just so much noise.
yeah,
Right? We have to sift through all the debris and then really maximize our time online because you could spend all day.
right.
And I've done this before.
And
Go
as
down the YouTube rabbit hole. You know what I
right.
mean? Yeah.
And as you guys know, Shintaro's been doing YouTube himself, like creating content on there, so he knows all the has a good idea of what's out there. So
Yeah.
why don't we start with the highlights? But the most I feel like that's the most approachable and most popular type of content that people consume.
Yep.
So how should we approach that? Yeah.
You start off with judo highlights on YouTube,
Right.
And then you watch some spectacular throws or whether it's BJJ highlights, and then you're just like, oh man, this is amazing. I just recently started watching like Greco-Roman wrestling highlights. Just
Oh, I do
getting
that too.
launched. Yeah, I love it. So it's like, yeah, I think you have to take it with a grain of salt. You can't let it affect your expectations of actually doing the sport, right?
Right.
Because you don't want to be like, oh, this is what it's supposed to look like all the time, right? It's highlights for a reason. It's only a very, very small section, right? And a lot of the times you get two very, very close, skilled athletes, and then it's never going to look like that, right?
Right.
So you have to be, right? You have to manage your expectations when you're watching
Right.
highlights, but you have to use it as inspiration first and foremost,
Right.
right? That's what I get out of highlights. I'm like, man, this is amazing. And I get pumped when I watch it.
And the one thing to remember is that it's not a lot of those techniques they're not like high percentage techniques. That
Yeah,
a lot of
sometimes,
times-
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean the high percentage stuff, the classic Uchimata dos Sotos or something like this, right? They're great,
yeah,
but there's a slew of ranges, right? Like it's like,
Right.
for instance, like it's the classic. Oh, I threw someone with a Seanagi in a tournament,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's like, was it standing Seanagi? It's like, no, I dropped to my knees. It was a drop
Yeah.
Seanagi, and then people are like, oh,
yeah.
like that
Yeah.
subtle put that. I'm like, oh, you dropped to your knees and took great. It's
Right.
like, no, I slammed him. It's like, was it a standing Seanagi?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. Oh, right. It's kind of like that, but like, yeah, you're absolutely right, man. You get some spectacular new technique that no one's ever seen before, and the likelihood of people getting it consistently is very low, but it makes the reels,
Right.
right?
And also, it's kind of I think the highlights kind of they don't show the whole context around it, like how the person even set up the throw.
That's a great
yeah.
point. Yeah.
And and then also it doesn't show how the countless hours the athlete has put into whatever technique they're using for
Yeah,
the highlight
for sure,
reel.
for
Yeah,
sure.
So you
It's
gotta put in the work.
misleading.
Yeah,
For instance, I'll give you an example. Uchimata harai.
right.
Okay, so Uchimata, guy or girl escapes the technique by sidestepping it to shift their center of gravity away
Right.
from the lift, right? So the person does it once early on in the match. Person does Uchimata again, second time, middle of the match, and then the very third time or the fourth time, they're in that same position where the person's dominant position, and they're looking like they're gonna go blasting Uchimata. They go for Harai instead.
Right.
Right? And that only that Harai Goshi is going to be on the highlight reel. So if you slow that highlight part down and be like, oh, how did this guy hit it so well? Right? You
Right.
completely miss the context of like, oh, this has been being set up for the
Right.
last, 3 minutes. Things of that nature.
Yeah, I
Right?
think, I think it goes with any technique really. Like when I watch BJJ highlights, I think because I don't know the Newaza techniques as well as some of the BJJ practitioners,
Yeah.
I do miss a lot of that. Like sometimes I'm so amazed like how they even set those like intricate, strangles and.
Yeah.
But you miss all. It's not even just the setup right before. You're saying the whole match. Like the person was probably setting up, like showing maybe like guard, armbar, and then later go for the triangle choke. The same way like you were setting it up with Uchimaras and then surprise him with the Haragoshi at the end.
Yeah, something like
Yeah.
that, It's hard
Yeah.
to see and distinguish and understand when you're kind of just watching highlight reels, and that's
Right.
what the highlight reels are for. It's not really for, yes, it's for learning, but most of the things I get out of it is just inspiration. Be like, wow, man, I can't wait to go to the dojo and hit it on somebody.
Yeah, I know.
Do a highlight reel of my own.
Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of students approach you and saying, hey, sensei, like I've watched this crazy throw. Have you seen it? Like, can you teach me? Yada, yada, yada. How do you approach, like, what do you tell them usually?
I mean, a lot of the times my students tag me in stuff or show me some stuff, and then I'll just give them my honest opinion. This is a high, right? There's a lot going on here. Like I talked about context. I always talk about context, right? The context is this, context is that. Maybe we'll watch the full match sometimes if I have the time and if I have the patience for that.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it'll just be something like this is only work, right? Because X, Y, and Z.
Right, right.
And a lot of the times it comes down to the individual athlete too. You see some crazy athletic, like flying, whatever it is. And it's like, this guy is a phenom athlete. Right. And then, you see students that are like, I want to do this. I want to do this. And you start drilling it. It's like, yes, but this is one thing that they do. They have an entire system outside of this thing that they do. Right. So they have a system here. They have the fundamentals here. And they have a couple of different surprise attacks. This is the stuff. This is like accessory stuff. This is like supplemental stuff to their main core attack system.
Right.
Right. So you can't go the opposite way and be like, all right, I'm just going to learn this thing and I'm just going to learn that thing and I'm going to learn that thing, because it's got to tie all together or you wouldn't have an effective fighting system. Right.
Right.
Yeah. So I'll try to be, concise about it and try to explain that as best I can.
That's an interesting point you brought up about like the actual body, like the whole system, including how athletes' bodies, works, and then how these professional athletes build their own systems around it. Like, I think Iliadis is a good example of that. He's such a freak of nature. A lot of the throws he does with he can force through a lot of these throws with his shoulders all the way in the back. But
you have to have the shoulder mobility to be able to do it. I don't have the shoulder mobility, right? I can't bring my arm back that far and then be
still strong to pull through. So
blow my shoulder out.
So there's a lot of context around that's missing from highlights, but it's good. They're a good source of inspiration.
Yeah, it's a source of inspiration, and it's great when you know somebody that's in it, and then you send it to each other. And I've been on threads where people are getting bombed, and I've made highlight reels myself where I'm the one receiving it. And people sending me videos of that from back in the day, and oh my god, but it's good. The highlight reel it's a type of a content that you can consume to learn judo. I don't think it should be your primary thing. Maybe it's 20% of it, right? Depending on whether or not this stuff really motivates you and inspires you.
Right. So now, you watch all these highlight reels, and then you're probably pumped up to take judo or BJJ or whatever grappling art you want to do, and then you're drilling, and now you probably would move on to tutorials. How to do these moves.
Tutorials boring. Oh man, tutorials.
You have a lot to say about that.
I do have a lot to say about that.
So what? So let's just start with how to approach these tutorials. Because there's some of the moves, there are the basic tutorials and there are the advanced tutorials. There's a whole range.
Yeah.
So
I think there's something to be said about these linear progression sort of learning systems that are available online, right? You learn this is the basics, and then it goes into these mind mapping situations.
Right.
But you have to take all this stuff with a grain of salt, and this is coming from a person that creates a lot of this stuff myself, right? I have a Judo Fanatics series. I have 6 DVDs out. I have YouTube videos out. I have lots of different stuff out there for purchase and mostly free for me, right? I like just putting stuff out there anyway. But a lot of the stuff I see out there, it's tough because a lot of it is noise too, right? Like I said, you missing the context. I showed a reverse kataguruma the other day, right? It's how are you going to put that into your system is the biggest piece of it.
Right.
It's sleeve cross collar. You have right taio, you have sode. When the hand goes up, the hand goes underneath. You could do a reverse kataguruma, right? Maybe you do a collar drag, whatever. That's a good system. Okay, so now you learn this reverse kataguruma that works, that fits in the whole thing. And then you have to drill not just reverse kataguruma, but all the pieces surrounding it, right? Maybe fake taio and then go the right side, right? Or fake sode and then snap down, go cross collar osoto, and then if that doesn't work, now you go reverse kataguruma. Right? You have to drill that whole thing. Right?
Right.
So you only get a piece of it, and you don't understand the surrounding thing of it, and you can't really explain everything in one video.
Right.
Right? Because for every video that I make about reverse kataguruma, there's 20 other ones out there saying something completely different. Right?
So would you recommend like just trying to watch as many different variations of tutorials of the same technique as possible, or what do you think? Like, I guess my question is more about how do you kind of filter out the noise in a way?
You know, there's a saying in the watch buying world. I know you're into watches. I'm into watches, right? That you buy the seller.
Right.
Buy the seller.
Yeah.
Right? And it's kind of something similar. If you trust an instructor and you follow them and they have a lot of stuff and they have a very positive consensus, then that's the person that you really want to go through, right? Because there's so many people, thousands of people just putting stuff out there. You know, and the intention might be different, right? Intention sometimes is just to sell video, put stuff behind a paywall, get them to sign up, and now, you know, you're on a subscription situation.
Right.
So you have to know who your instructor is, and you have to know what their style is like, right? And I think that's first and foremost. And then I would start by consuming someone, right? Like from, you know, maybe it's me, right? And then you watch all my videos, and then, you know, you catch me on a good day. I will, if you ask questions through Instagram, like I will respond, right? If you catch me on a good day, right? And that's a nice little thing, because then you could ask, you know, and then I'll ask, hey, like, who's your teacher? And then you could have a dialogue going, and then the conversation's really where it's at, you know. And we talked a little bit about learning styles,
right?
You know, that interpersonal learning, right? Because you can't just learn when I'm just talking at the camera and doing something that I do might not be a fit for you. Right? But you watch it, you watch all my stuff, you kind of understand where I'm coming from, my whole situation, my philosophies, because I repeat myself all the time, right? System this, context that, right? Right side versus left side. You have to understand hand position, blah, 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 right? So now if they have specific questions after they watched all my stuff, now they could ask good questions. If you watch one video and you ask me a question like, hey, I noticed you did this with your left hand, what should I, like, I'm not answering that question. Because you're not asking the right questions. You don't even know that you're asking the right questions.
Right.
So you buy the seller, right? Which is like you find the teacher that you like, watch all their stuff. And then you can reach out to them and then ask them smart questions. Right? And then you have a dialogue with your teacher and say, hey, I've been following this guy and he said this. Like, what do you think about that? And then being as respectful as possible. Right? Because you could always find someone that does something better than you know, your teacher online.
Right.
Just nature of online, right? Happens to me too. It's like I'm teaching an armbar or something. It's like, hey, you know, I saw so-and-so jiu-jitsu, whatever, doing this armbar. I'm like, oh yeah, great. You know, I don't know, right? Sometimes I just don't know.
Oh, like that's yeah, you need to be very tactful, I guess, because, you know, it's, you don't want to be disrespectful to your teacher and then just kind of say, hey, I don't, you know, point them out. Because it's not that your teacher might be like wrong, it's that it just there's a lot of variations, and then, you know, your teacher might do it differently.
Lots of variations, right? And then now with the internet, like, I wish I had YouTube watching, you know, growing up doing judo, right? I was forced to buy, you know, the world championship DVDs, right? And then try to decipher and figure it out. And then the instructional DVDs that they had back in the day were very low quality. I even had VHS tapes. Right? And very difficult because you can't slow anything down. It's like you forward and backwards and rewinding, and it was just horrible experience. So now you have a slew of information, right? And you have to learn how to kind of decipher it and sift through the noise. And that really does come with having sort of that teacher, right? Can you theoretically learn everything you can on paper about judo techniques online? Yeah, you could watch all the videos ever created from judo. You could do that.
Right.
Will you be able to do any of it? No. Will you be able to make sense of all that information? Probably not. Right. That's why you still need a dojo. That's why you still need sort of a guide, a teacher.
Right. So you can utilize your teacher, consult. Like, it's kind of like, yeah, this is like a supplemental material, and then your teacher can kind of help you suss through all the noise in the beginning. So I think so as the, you know, if you are advanced enough, then you can kind of watch the video yourself and kind of tell, oh, this tutorial is not good for, it doesn't fit my system and whatnot. So you don't have to like pay too much attention to it. But then when you're a beginner, you have like everything is new and everything may fit your system. You can you just don't know. So
Just don't know.
yeah, other than consulting your teacher, like is there something they can do by themselves as the beginners to like, because you suggest that you should probably watch a lot of pick a content creator like a tutorial maker, and then watch a lot of the videos and then try to formulate smart questions from them. But there's a lot of content to watch, even on your channel. So any concrete steps you suggest to beginners to like what kind of videos should they watch first? Right. Yeah.
Any sort of basics, Shintaro Higashi basic judo system.
Yeah.
It's an obvious plug here.
Right.
But it doesn't have to be that. It could be anything really. Everyone has a different learning style. We talked about this last time.
Right.
And one of the biggest things I think is important when you're watching videos and stuff like this is being able to speak the language. And we spoke about programming language when we spoke about your PhD.
Yeah.
But that's huge, right? You're hearing all the terminology all the time, right versus right, osotogari, lapel hand, sleeve hand, all this stuff, advantages and transitions to newaza, and right. Once you have that sort of language and you could hear it, right, then you could think it, right? And now when you're thinking about it, it makes sense because you could verbalize it.
Right. And
so
then,
those things are very important. And then so starting off with the basics to be able to build that fundamental knowledge of the language is huge.
Right.
So I recommend that any sort of basics program, right? And if you're talking specifically judo, there's a couple of people who already create that kind of they already have that product.
Right.
Me being one of them. You could also reach out to me on Instagram, right? Judo Shintaro NYC. And then I might send you a couple links or something like that. You got to catch me on a good day, though, because sometimes I'm busy.
Yeah.
Right?
And then he's popular online a lot.
Really popular. Yeah, these days it's kind of growing, and, thanks to you and all that.
Yeah. Cool. So, what you want to do is you build up the vocabulary and then think about them and then practice them so that you can formulate good questions. And then you can be, I guess, more pointed, more direct in your search for tutorials. If you have specific questions now because you've tried it, you can actually, Google that specific point. Yeah. So
I'll tell you something I'm doing right now. It's like I've been watching, I always watch highlights and stuff, and YouTube knows this about me, so they're constantly pushing this sort of stuff. And then I've been really getting into watching Mongolian Naidam wrestling highlights and stuff. And then I was watching that, and then I went down the rabbit hole, and watching chimpanzees fighting other chimpanzees and snapping turtles, feeding and stuff. And then I circled back around to Greco-Roman wrestling highlights, and there was this lift off the ground. It's like a gut wrench lift. And they do this spiral throw. It's pretty cool, right? So I was like, oh man, I gotta learn that. And I went on YouTube and I was like, all right, tutorials for gut wrench spiraling throw, and not too many good ones. Not many good ones at all, right? So now I'm kind of tempted to figure it out, which I've wrestled, right? So it's I can probably figure it out and then make it, that's kind of exciting. And that sort of highlight reel, because I watched the highlights. Highlight reel, I like that. Let me watch the tutorial for it. What is that thing? And the beauty of it is in the comment section, people are like, what is the name of this technique? People do that stuff.
Right, and they'll always tell you.
Yeah.
And the whole discussion.
It's a Della Hiva. And then it's a Della Riva. It's like, what is a Della Riva? And then you type that, and then people are like, okay, this is my Della Hiva. And I'm like, oh, that's how it's pronounced.
Right.
Now you're speaking the language. Now you're watching the tutorial. You could watch it in slow motion. That's the thing about jiu-jitsu. You can watch everything really slow. Because in judo, it's instantaneous.
Right.
The thing you don't see about these throws is that a lot of it is balance-based. You don't see the balance part.
Right.
The person doing the throw is on balance the whole time. So when you watch it, trying to learn it, go trying it at the dojo, it's like, why can't I do this thing? A lot of it has to just do with your balance. If you're losing balance, you can't really do the throw because you can't apply force throughout the movement.
Right.
If you're trying to catch your balance, right?
It's going back to the whole idea of the context, taking into everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can so get inspired by the highlight reels,
Yeah.
and then then you can go into the tutorials on those techniques, and then you have to try them. Like you mentioned, it has to be interactive. You have to try them and
Yeah. You have to
formulate
try it
questions.
slowly.
Yeah.
Slowly. I can't stress this enough.
Right.
Nothing drives me crazier than like, dude, I saw this crazy like no-handed kataguruma backflip. Like, can I try this on you? The guy goes in and starts ripping. Like, you know the Molole?
Which one is that?
You know,
Well,
Saeed he's the former Iranian, now
oh,
fights
okay,
for
yeah,
Mongolia.
yeah.
He does like a double sleeve, like both arms strapped under the
Oh,
armpit,
yeah,
like
yeah,
back
yeah.
arch and throw. Like,
Yeah.
that's crazy dangerous if you, right?
But
That's crazy dangerous.
Right. You have to
You know,
take
guys,
it slow. Yeah.
you have to take it slow. Guys gonna see that online, come into the dojo and try it full force, put their own neck at risk, put their opponent's neck at risk, right?
Right.
Super dangerous. So it's like something like that. You got to really take it slow. You know what I mean?
Don't try them right away in
Yeah.
your randori or rolling session.
Joint locks
Yeah.
are different because you could apply them really slowly.
Right.
Especially if they're cooperative, you could slowly be like, does this hurt? Does this feel? You know,
Yeah.
whatever it is. But like a throw, it happens fast.
Yeah.
You're up in the air. You have both opponents' their arms binded. They could land on their head really easily, right? So all these different things. You have to understand the mechanics of the throw. And you could understand it visually, but as you're doing it, right, as you're feeling the mechanics of the technique, some techniques you can't really go slow, like the uranage, the back arch.
Right.
Taught at the dojo the other day. It's like you lock the belly, going back an arch and taking the person over. Like there comes a tipping point where gravity just takes over.
So yeah, you have to take the momentum and
Yeah.
push through. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the person's elevated in the wrong way, going down in the wrong projectile,
Right.
like they're gonna land on their head, right?
Right.
It's like, how do you account for that? How do
Yeah.
you teach it safely? You know, and it's a tough one, the uranage. That's why I don't teach it to the general population of my class.
Right.
I'll teach it to the not the better ones, but the people who can do it,
Yeah.
the more advanced students.
Yeah.
I'll teach it. You know, you've been in the room when I taught it.
Yeah.
probably. Right?
Yeah. So yeah, you gotta. The general approach should be more just take the safe approach about tutorials.
Yeah.
Right. So now you've watched highlights, you're pumped, you watch some
Yeah.
tutorials, you know the basics now, and now you're like really into the whole grappling art, and you're watching the matches, the whole thing, and
Yeah,
you try to
super
see
boring.
the context. Yeah, the some of the matches, because you have to understand these athletes are so evenly matched. Sometimes it's just everything going on. It's hard
Yeah.
to see from
Dude, it's ridiculous how you're watching a judo match and most people have no clue. And
You're right.
I was like that too. I was usually seeking out
The
just
big
the throws,
ippos, yeah.
the big throws. Like when is it gonna throw? When is
Yeah.
this guy gonna throw something? Fast forward. Like, oh, there it is. And then I'll like watch that part over and over, try to figure out how he did it.
Right.
Something like I was watching judo the other day too, right? And you have to have this kind of analytical mind a little bit when you're watching matches.
Right.
So something as simple as right side versus right side, right? This hand protecting this hand sleeve. The guy's going sleeve, lapel, right? Sleeve, lapel. And then it just looks like this thing. They're just like kind of slap fighting. He's defending over here.
Right.
And then sleeve, lapel. And then the person coming to the lapel side and he cuts across and blocks and then goes over the back over here. Something like that. It's like, if you know, you're like, oh, wow, right?
Right.
And then it's like playing the drums because the person's going sleeve. And then every time he goes for the sleeve and pulls back, he's misdirecting the lapel. But he's fully aware that this right side is being attacked as well. So he's defending, right? So it's like attack, defend, and then he defends on the opposite side with the hand that he was attacking. It was like an instantaneous quick switch.
Right.
Like that's not fun for 99% of the people.
Right.
It's not fun for me.
And you just have. It's hard to see those because they happen so quickly, and then you wouldn't know unless like you do that kind of grip fighting in real life too. Yeah.
And the problem with watching something like that is attention span. A lot of times I have zero attention span. Attention span is
Yeah.
very, very limited. And something like that is very, very, very important when you're looking at throwing someone, because
Right.
now all of a sudden the person has a deep over the back grip, right? And they have a huge, turn throw, right? But they can only really throw from back here. And that one shot that they got it, like maybe they throw a huge koshiguruma or something, and it's like, oh, right? It's that precursor thing the check boxes that are necessary in order to make that throw work.
Right, right.
Right. So, you know, a lot of this like focus and where to watch, what is actually going on behind the scenes. You're trying to read in between the lines. You know what I mean? And it's super boring. Like I can't do it for more than, and it took me a very long time to develop this sort of skill of watching the match and understanding what is actually going on.
So what are some of the specific things you do when you watch now that you like the analytical thinking, like because so before you thought you found them boring, but you developed a way to...
It's still boring to me.
Oh, it's still boring.
Yeah, super boring.
So but you don't... Yeah, what do you usually do though? Like you have to... You do watch them. So
I do watch it.
Yeah.
I do watch it. And, you know, it took me a very long time to sort of naturally develop this lens now. So when I do watch a judo match, it's like I understand, and then I could watch it, and it's automatic for me almost.
Right.
And my natural inclination is like, oh, just watch the throw. But then it's really no different than me watching the highlights.
I usually do that, right? Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah. So I force myself, if I really want to figure something out, it's like, why did this move work? I have to go back to the whole match and watch the whole match.
I see,
you know
I see.
Yeah. So then, like, if I'm really trying to figure something out, then I'll do it.
I guess that's more like the guided approach we've been talking about, where you try these things yourself, try to integrate this particular throw in your system, and then, like you say, a throw can only happen when you take into account the whole context. So now you go to the matches where this throw was used, and then you look for the cues that leading up to the throw that you're working on. So that will make things less boring, more fun even. Yeah.
And then you have to build it from the beginning up, right? Because now all of a sudden you're watching it, and then it's, let's just say, for instance, you're watching it, and then I figured it out. I tried it at the dojo. I'm working out with Peter, and then I'm watching this thing, and he's doing it this way, and I'm trying to do it, but I can't really do it. And then it's like, I just don't know why. And it's something as simple as me doing it to you, Peter, right side versus right side. On the video, it's a right side going against a lefty player. So maybe they're not giving the same sort of cues that are available to actually hit the technique. Right. So starting with watching the entire match, okay, who's right side, who's left side, right? And sometimes it's not clear cut because they switch, right? And some of the best athletes in the world do maybe 60% righty, 40% lefty, and they have preferences. So understanding that sort of a situation. Understanding the gripping schemes, the opening gamuts of like where they're putting their hands on first. Is it a off the grip attack, right? What is the timing of this move? Is it when the person disengages with one hand and then it's a one-handed attack, or is it a two-handed attack? Right? And what are the assumptions that the opponent is making for the technique to work?
Right. All the fake
maybe there's feints, right? What are the so if the person gets bombed in one direction, it's like, why did he get bombed? It can't be as simple as the person just grabbing him, pulling him in that direction, and taking him.
Right.
Maybe the person's like, oh, I know this guy does a tomoe nage. He's unbelievable at the tomoe nage. So watch out. Like, for instance, Takato. He does that kochi that's spectacular. Right? He does kochi spectacular. Right side versus left side. He blocks that shoulder. He moves sumi, right? And he moves in the same spot for the sumi. And as soon as you're resisting back onto your heels and pull your shoulders back to resist that sumi, he switches to the kochi.
Right.
It's not even like he switches kochi. He just goes for it. So, like, to the person who's just watching that kochi, it's like, that's an amazing kochi. Let me try it at the dojo.
And it doesn't work.
The person, if the person's not reacting to that sumi, right, it's not going to work. Which means you need to develop a sumi. Right. And if your opponent's never seen a sumi before, they're not going to know how to defend it.
Right. So it's
which means, so there's a lot going on there. So now, is it really worth trying to learn that one kochi? It's not. Because you have to be in a right side versus left side setting. You have to have a sumi gaeshi. Right? That's a threat enough to instill a reaction. Your opponent has to know how to defend that sumi properly and intelligently. And now you're exploiting that person's reaction. So is it worth really learning that? No. Not at all. Like, it's too specific. Maybe your dojo has no lefties.
Right. Oh, man.
That's who you're going to do it to, you know? So you're going to spend all your time and effort drilling something, right? And that was a great example of the Takato kochi.
Yeah.
I'm proud of myself for that one.
I mean, he's amazing in that. But like you said, you have to remember the whole context, why he does that, and then things get very specific. And also, you shouldn't get discouraged by like when you try to integrate the coach into your system and it doesn't work in randori at your dojo. You shouldn't get discouraged because you might be missing some of the key, the key points and precursors. Yeah, exactly.
That's the hardest thing about judo because you're trying to do this coach, you're trying to make the shape of it, right? You need the actual reaction for it to be proper, right? It's got to be time perfect. It's a timing-oriented technique a lot of the times, koji.
Right.
Meanwhile, this guy's trying to throw you.
Right. Yeah.
And you need your balance to be able to throw anybody. And then the entire game is the other person trying to take your balance, right? So think like you're trying to throw a baseball really hard, right? And then you're standing on a surfboard and the thing is going, right? It's like you're kind of trying to throw the ball, but like the surfboard's going, like you're surfing.
Right,
so you're like constantly thinking about your balance. Like how are you going to apply a lot of force, right? Where you're sort of on this like unstable place. And that's what it's like, you know?
Right.
And that's what makes it so tricky.
I think that made me just think, I don't know if you've gone rock climbing. I know, Eugene, your cousin Eugene does it a lot. Yeah. And in rock climbing, they call these the configuration of the wall like a problem. Yeah. There's like a different colors that you have to follow, right? They call it a problem, and they say they're working on a problem instead of like I'm climbing. So I guess in a way, you should approach all these videos and whatnot in that way. Like when you're doing judo, you're trying to solve this problem of how do I throw the other person with this technique, and you have to kind of
you can, right? And you're right. But some people, that's not their style. Some people are just big, strong, athletic, and they just want to muscle through. That's okay. Some people are just intuitive athletes, right? And that's sometimes better. For me, I was sort of an intuitive style. I couldn't explain any of the stuff that I did for a very, very long time. It wasn't until after I started teaching and people started asking me questions that I realized I didn't know how to answer them. And that's what led me to like figuring a lot of this stuff out to be able to teach. And I think that was
interesting.
Yeah. So similarly too, like some people are just great athletes, right? Some people just want to go in and stand and bang. That's great. And if that's what works for you, that works for you, right? You don't need to have this sort of analytical mind and learn this and that. And some people just don't need that.
Right.
Right. So it just comes down to your learning style, right? And then it comes down to your teacher too, right? Does the teacher know your learning style? Like if you're very analytical, I got students that are just, I don't want to say dense, but they're dense. They don't want to understand and learn the fundamentals and this and the systems, and they just want to go work out. And I'll gladly teach those guys in a way that's suitable for them, right? A lot of times those guys are like, "Hey, sensei, let's work out. Okay, let's do rounds." And they're just scrapping.
That's how they learn. Like they got to feel it out with their bodies.
Yeah. And when they say, "How did you do that thing that you did?" Right? If I get into like, the right first right, the sleeve this, and I set it up that, I'm gonna lose them. Right. Yep. So it's like, this is how I did it here, and then I went for it. And then sometimes as simple as that. So I really do cater. I try to at least.
Yeah. Nice.
So. Yeah, the match analysis stuff, if you could sit down with a very, very knowledgeable person and then watch it together, it's really huge.
Right. Because you see a lot of, those are some of my favorite videos on your channel, like the randori commentaries, not just because I'm in it. But, even it's just, you see a lot of things that even I miss, and the things you see, like the trained eyes see, is pretty crazy. The
problem with that type of video, first of all, it takes a very long time to make.
Right.
Maybe not, for me, because I have no editing skills. But the problem with those kind of videos, it doesn't fare well from a
popularity
standpoint. Yeah. People are always asking for it, but whenever I post it, it's like not that popular. People don't want to watch that.
Right.
People want a quick, like, "Hey guys, what's going on? This is how I do my tomoe nage. Boom. This is the other way. These are the reactions you might see. Here it is. This is me throwing George twice. Boom, boom. All right, guys, see ya."
Well, for those of you who want more of those videos, watch all those videos so that, it shows on the data, I guess. So that
Yeah.
Shintaro, it's worth for Shintaro to spend more time on them.
That's right. No, but seriously though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like I might get something out of something like that, but not everyone gets
Yeah.
out of,
That's
and it takes time and mind energy to like sit
right.
down and watch that and listen to it and digest it. Like it takes effort,
Right. You probably have to
That's,
watch the same thing, same match, under round like over and over again. Try to, yeah.
yeah, and I have to be like in the mood for it too, right? To consume it. Highlight reels are easy. That's like it's like judo porn almost. Like you just watch it, you veg out, like, oh, look at this guy throwing taio, that's amazing. I'm gonna do this to somebody, you
I
visualize
know.
you being in it.
Instagram is so bad for me like that because it'll just show you everything like the judo throws and wrestling throws and BJJ submissions, and I could just slide through
Yeah.
like
Forever.
swipe all
Forever.
forever.
You
Anyway,
follow
yeah.
Justin Flores, J Flow?
No, I try not to follow these big accounts because I feel like my whole feed I wouldn't be able to get out of like stop watching these.
Yeah.
But but you follow them? I mean, I'm sure you follow all the big ones.
I thought not all of them, but I
Yeah.
have a couple of favorites.
Yeah.
Right? I have a couple of favorites that they have to win me over for me to follow them though. Yeah.
So let's kind of go into that now. Like now that we talked about how to digest these different types of content online. So what are some of the things like specific accounts that you might recommend, like or some of the ways you might want to you can people can use to find these types of content? Like for highlights, what do you recommend?
I like the IJF stuff, right? Because I have my biases towards it.
Right,
Like the
right.
international judo competition scene, like it's this unified thing globally, right? And then it's just an incredible thing. So anything IJF produces, and people take videos from that. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, they have that,
Yeah.
and
They've upped their
you
game.
can find it.
Yeah.
Just they're big time with
Big
their
time,
content
yeah.
and online presence and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Now they're flagging people on YouTube for copyright stuff too, because I think they want to control a little bit more of what's out there.
Right.
They just don't want people coming in, clipping it, just making whatever.
Right.
And they want to have a little bit of, I guess, quality control or.
Makes
right?
sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I see. So all the IJF produce highlights, and then I think the stuff on Instagram, they're like the snippets of the matches and whatnot. They're pretty good. Like
Yeah,
just
yeah.
to get inspired.
one of my favorites is like the road to the finals or something like that.
Oh yeah, those are fun.
That way I could see, who they beat, and it's like I don't have to go back check the brackets or something like that and
Right.
see, oh, this guy beat this in the quarters. Oh, that's a tough match for a
Yeah.
final match. Like, oh, he got beat in the semis. All right, that's cool. What did he beat him with? And oh, it's Taio, whatever. And like I kind of like that. It's an easy way for me to like stay kind of involved and understanding the currentness, I guess, of
Yeah.
the judo, because I don't really follow it that closely. I should.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I should. I'm just not a sports watching person. I'm a sports doer.
Or
Right?
Yeah.
Like I watch the Super Bowl, but that's
Yeah,
it. I
yeah.
don't really follow football. I don't. The Yankees, this and that. I'm like, I'll go to a game
Right.
sometimes, and
Yeah. Yeah, I see what you mean. And
yeah.
Wait,
Same with judo.
yeah. So
I'm a judo junkie, but I don't watch it. Really,
I see.
I don't watch it.
what about you mentioned Justin Flores? What were you gonna say about him?
Justin Flores is spectacular.
Yeah.
Right? He's a Division I wrestler, right? A top judoka. And some people say like he's the best judo guy that didn't make the Olympic team, right? Because he should have, in my opinion. He was one of the best, very, very best. He was a leading judoka for a very, very long time. And as I was sort of coming into the circuit, he was already established, right? So he's Keenan Cornelius' judo coach.
Oh,
Keenan
okay.
Cornelius is like a jiu-jitsu guy.
Right,
He's a
right,
judo
yeah,
guy.
I
He's
see.
pretty famous.
Yeah, I've heard of him. Yeah.
Yeah, Keenan Cornelius is the worm guard guy.
Yeah.
He's the guy that says not Brazilian jiu-jitsu, American jiu-jitsu, right? And he has his dojo out,
Oh.
Asian jiu-jitsu or whatever it is. And no, he's just a famous guy, famous jiu-jitsu guy, and he has a partnership, I guess, with Justin Flores. Justin teaches judo out of there, and Justin creates cool content. He has a whole website and this and that. But the thing he does really well is he'll show like a 20-second clip of him doing like a really cool thing. Like, oh, sweep single, come up to the body underhook, ochi into taio. Boom, boom. Fast. And it's almost like, it's not a tutorial, right? What he does on Instagram. But it's like a showcase of like a quick combination. And it's beautiful. I love it. And he does the slow motion stuff sometimes. And he's got crazy amount of followers for a judoka. Right, not for like an Instagram model. Those girls, that's another planet, right? But for a judo grappler, right, he has a lot. He has a huge following.
I see. So and then you get inspired by those quick clips, the highlight reel type of deal.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is like him putting that stuff out there and people tagging each other, and a lot of eyeballs are on it. And then he sells his system like, hey, if you guys want to learn the J Flow system, Justin Flores, people call him J Flow.
Oh, okay.
Justin Flores. And then it's kind of sounds pretty cool,
Right. He's got the name
very
for it.
Flowy. He has a very flowy style. He has unbelievable tomoe nage. Great wrestling.
I see.
All that stuff. So, yeah, he's using Instagram to, push his system, right?
I see.
And that's definitely something that I suggest watching.
Nice.
American Judo System is another one that Jimmy Peugeot and Travis Stevens are doing now, right? It's like a subscription-based judo thing, and they do coaching, online coaching. They do this and that, and
right.
And then a lot of their Instagram and the YouTube stuff that they do is built and geared towards pushing that.
I see.
Yeah.
So that they will put out. I follow Travis, and he puts out like this quick tutorials and highlights and whatnot. Yeah. So let's kind of move on to the tutorial side. Obviously, you will put out great content, great tutorials on YouTube. Yeah. Maybe plug yours a little.
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel, guys. Yeah. If you're listening to this, you probably already know this.
Right. So that your channel, and then it's any other good tutorial content creators you've seen?
Judo wise, or
judo wise. Well, I think we can also talk about like BJJ or wrestling in general. Yeah.
Truthfully, man, I've been really pushing this guy Brian Glick. He's my jiu-jitsu. He teaches me BJJ, and I teach him. I've been teaching judo for a long time. And we kind of have this thing. We just literally, it's like we get 2 hours together, and then I teach him. I work out with him for judo for an hour, and he does jiu-jitsu with me for an hour.
Yeah, I love his teaching style. I've seen some of some of the videos you put out on your channel. Like he teaches the jiu-jitsu, BJJ.
He's great, man. Yeah. He is spectacular. He's concise. He's clear. Right. He's eloquent. Everything about him I like. His YouTube channel went from literally probably like 80 subscribers to like 5,000 in the span of like the last like 5 months or so.
Oh, he just started.
I just started.
Oh, okay. I see.
And a lot of it was like me too. Like we're working out on a weekly basis, right? And then I'm like talking to him about my YouTube stuff, and I'm like, dude, you got to do it. You got to do it. And I'm like trying to talk him into it, and he's like, yeah. And I was like, I'll do my best to help you. So, and I like his teaching style. I really do. It's like mine. It's concise. It's clear. If I say so myself. Right? So check out Brian Glick's YouTube channel. Like if you're watching this, he's great.
Nice.
Great instructor.
Right. Nice.
Yeah.
So,
it's a beautiful thing, man. The YouTube. It's like honestly, man, because if there wasn't such a YouTube thing, like I would just be confined by the walls of the dojo.
Right. Yeah.
The only way to learn from me is within the dojo. And with the pandemic, it's like even that's very restricting. People just don't understand.
Right.
Now people watch my YouTube videos like I like his teaching style. Right. I like the way he talks about the stuff. Like he's legit. I'm willing to come in and pay for a private. Now we're only doing privates. Something like this.
Right.
And it really expands my horizon. And it really gives me validation when people watch and they're like, oh, this guy's pretty good. Yeah. And it makes me feel good. I don't like the comments when they're like, oh, hey, gosh, you got fat, or all this stuff.
What? But people say that?
If I gain weight, people will mention
Come on. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, but why wouldn't they? It's a YouTube, right?
Oh, yeah, I guess. You're
online,
So. I mean, it's a scary, it could be a scary world, the YouTube channel, I guess. Well, yeah, I mean, not only the, like, people in America, I see the comments. I always check the comment section of your videos and then some people from like I think like Argentina or Chile, like
Yeah,
like
they're really global.
yeah, and they like asking you to translate and then like put the
Mm.
subtitles on whatever. And it's amazing how now you're
Yeah,
like
it's pretty cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I
And
really like it.
cool. So yeah, you know, take advantage of all this content on YouTube, guys. Brian Glick and of course Shintaro.
Yeah,
How about in terms of matches and analyses? I know you mentioned the IGF content. Like they put
yeah.
out, they have a whole huge channel where they actually live stream a lot of the tournaments, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
all those tournaments are live stream. You could do like mat one, mat two, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes like I'll catch like the Grand Slam happens 4 times a year and it's
Mm-hmm.
happening and they're live streaming it and it's like, oh man, like the time zones fit perfectly and I have a little bit of downtime and I happen to
Mm-hmm.
be in front of my computer and I see that it's going, then I'll watch it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll check the brackets and I'll be like match one, or mat two or whatever it is, and that's great. And I think that's something. And if it's a world championships, I'll try to make time for a couple of the days.
Mm-hmm.
Usually like weight classes that are near my weight class, just
Right.
because a lot of the competitors that I competed against are still there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I like seeing that. It's like, oh, what would have happened if I would have stuck out, right, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. That's something that I do recommend. But some people aren't visual
Right.
spectators
Right.
like this. It's sport.
Yeah.
You can't force yourself to do it. Like
Yeah.
I tried to get into watching football
Yeah.
so many times just because all my buddies were doing it.
Uh-huh.
My buddies were watching football and talking about it,
Uh-huh.
and this and the draft and what is the thing that they do, fantasy football. Like
Yeah,
I tried
yeah.
it. I did it for like 3 or 4 years. It was like pulling teeth. Couldn't get into it.
Uh-huh. So
Getting on there, like, all right, this quarterback, I got that guy, swap him out, and like, oh boy, this is stupid.
I've got one league. I don't even watch football, but I just play fantasy football with my friends just cause.
Yeah, it's a social thing to do.
Yeah, and I don't. I usually just follow whatever recommendation the system makes for me.
I don't even put up that charade anymore.
Do you when you watch matches? So what I do is I have like some of my favorite judokas. Like I will always watch Ono Shohei. Of course, An Chang-nim, a lot of the Korean judokas I follow. So I try to watch their matches. Do you have like favorite judokas besides the ones that you actually compete against? Like, do you have someone that like you're a fan of this judoka, so to speak? Or do you like that approach? You don't, yeah.
I do like that approach.
Yeah.
I like Ono. I think he's just in the right weight class and
Right.
he's amazing, so I like watching him. I really do. I like
Yeah.
his style, right? But I won't seek him out just to watch his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, a lot of it for me is convenience. Time is of the essence
I
now
see.
with kid and this and that. Can I spend every, watching judo all day and every day? Like I probably, actually, I don't know if I can, but like I could do that, right?
Right.
And it'll be endless. Will
Yeah.
I get a lot out of it? Probably not.
Right.
There's so many ways that I'm getting my, value out of judo already, right? I don't need all this other stuff, and it's really not going to help my overall judo at this point. I think.
I see.
Just watching up in the watch time. But yeah, to answer your question, yeah, I like Ono. I love seeing some of the unknown guys coming through the ranks.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Love that. It's like, hey, this guy's, and they don't really have like announcers like this. You know what I mean? Like if you're watching international tennis, the announce is different.
Yeah.
Their story, their
Right.
family. There's this girlfriend in the crowd, like,
Right.
this guy just had a kid 2 months ago. He's recovering from an MCL sprain, and like you get to hear the whole thing, right? But judo's not really like that,
Right.
But it's like when I do see a young kid from a country, he's like the fourth in their country or something, and he limped into an international tournament. No one knows him.
Right. And
then he gets through the first round, the second round, the third round, he beats an Olympian, the fourth round,
Yeah.
whatever, right? And I'm
Yeah.
like, whoa, who is this guy? Let's keep an eye on this guy in the future.
Yeah,
I like
that's
that.
a cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw a drop Uchi the other day, like I have never seen. It's like I understood it in theory.
You mean
This
like
type of a
on your knees and you push through? Oh, I think I've seen that one just now.
this guy took
Yeah.
a back step, dropped to his knees, not like into the person like a
Oh,
drop
not
Uchi,
it.
but he like pulled him, took a dropped to his knee, like backward step onto his knees as if he was doing like I don't even know, right?
Yeah.
And then he just like clipped it, and the leg was coming. I was like, oh my god, I've never seen that before.
This created creativity. Some of these.
Yeah. And I
New
was like, wow, that's
athletes,
great.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, like, oh, Luke is gonna be like, hey, Sensei, can you show me that?
Oh god. Luke has one of the more physical learner, is he? Isn't he?
Yeah, he's super physical.
Yeah.
And he watches a ton of stuff online.
I see. He keeps up with everything. Yeah.
Yeah, he's probably listening right now. He's gonna be good. I'm gonna take him to the youth nationals.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I man.
month.
Yeah, I know. I remember going against him, man. He always gave me a run for the money.
Now
Tough
he's
guy.
he's different now.
Oh yeah, he's gotten a lot better.
Oh yeah.
I probably can't keep up with him now.
Yeah, you haven't been training.
I know. I'm curious. Yeah, I like seeing, all the teenagers we had at the dojo. It's good to kind of like what you said about these new athletes coming up.
Yeah.
Tara.
They're hungry.
They
wanna learn.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it's good, man, because the older I get, the better I get at teaching, I think. I hope so. And I'm always trying to adjust my teaching methods. So
Right.
And they get a sort of a better version of me, until I stop caring when I'm like 55 years old. I'm sure that'll eventually happen, right? I mean,
Yeah. Well, then by the time you get there, you probably have a pupil that could take over.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Maybe the crop of guys now that are going to succeed,
Right.
Maybe those guys are like, Sensei, I got you.
Yeah. Right.
I'll teach your 7 o'clock or whatever it is, and
The
whenever
Shintaro.
someone's like, yeah, Sensei, can you show me an Osoto? I'm like, oh Jesus, Osoto again, right? And then maybe some of these guys could take in and like, yeah, I got it. I'm like, oh,
Right.
good.
The Shintaro Higashi system. I'll carry the flag. Yeah.
Or maybe my daughter would be teaching.
Yeah, that'd be so cool. I love that.
She wants.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
Cool. So all right. So how about do people do analyses on these matches? I guess
Sometimes.
Yeah. Like, do you have any
I tried to
recommendations
do
on
like
that?
Abe. What is it? Abe Maruyama match.
Maruyama match. Oh, that was something.
But that was throwing off all sorts of flags with the copyright, this and that online.
Oh yeah.
YouTube. So, people. I think I know Travis did it, and then it got pulled 2 seconds.
He was doing on his own match too, and then it got flagged. I remember.
Yeah. So now it's like that whole segment is kind of gone. I think they should let people do the analysis matches.
Right.
But I don't know. Maybe they can't segment it enough to. Right. Who knows? I really don't know how.
I see.
The thing works, but
that's too bad. Yeah.
It is too bad.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we covered a lot. I guess I think the lesson here is that make sure be smart about what kind of content you consume, and then try to consider the whole context. Try to look for the things that you could learn to fit, like bring into your own system. Yes. And you consult with your teacher.
And then take it slow. I can't stress that enough. Take it slow. Really understand the mechanics. And and
watch.
Thank you guys for listening. Yeah, watch YouTube
Shintaro Higashi YouTube channel. Yeah. Anything else you want to add at the before we end?
Nope, that's it, man.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for listening, guys. Stay tuned for the next episode next week, and I'll see you guys soon.